This conference will now be recorded.
Hello guys, welcome back. So now here in this session, we'll talk about withholding tax, right? What is this withholding tax? Then how to configure this withholding tax and testing will be discussed here. Now, so guys, if we talk about withholding tax is also an important setting itself. It is related to tax. Now, if we talk about the taxes are at broader level, it is going to be segregated into two parts, right? That is called direct tax and indirect tax, right? Direct tax means what is happening, guys? The tax burden directly is going to be shifted on you. In the sense, directly it is going to be, paid by you only. And indirect taxes also is going to be paid by end consumer itself, but in indirect form. Okay. Let's suppose it is added in the product cost itself. So indirect tax will be discussed later. In upcoming classes, we'll be having a topic called tax on sales purchase. There we have to configure this indirect tax. Okay. Right now we have to talk about the direct tax, and direct tax is your income tax, wealth tax, etc. Let's suppose when you earn, certain, let's suppose you're working in a particular organizations. Okay. Again, whatever I'm explaining, it may differ country to country. But yes, income tax is there in almost every country, right? Now, so whatever salary we receive, on that salary, what is happening, guys? A particular tax will be deducted by employer itself, right? That is why it is called TDS, tax deducted at source. Okay, it is called TDS. Now, so now here what is happening? From your salary directly, certain amount got retained, in the sense deducted by employer. So of course, a direct impact is there on you. It means directly from your pocket itself, the money was gone, right? Now, so here in SAP, what is happening, guys? We have to configure this. Why? Because not only income tax, multiple other services are also there. I'll tell you guys, when you talk about an employee, you guys are just a vendor for an organization. I quote example of Tata Motors. So whoever the employee of Tata Motors are there, they're just like a vendor. In the sense, we are giving our services, right? We are serving for that organizations. We are giving our services, and they are paying for that at the month end in the form of salary, in the form of remuneration, right? So that is, if it is taxable income, then what is happening? Certain tax will be deducted by employer, and then amount we are going to receive. Likewise, there are other services also which falls under this category. And when you talk about Tata Motor is going to take buy multiple kind of services, and whenever the invoice is going to be received, the same thing must be applicable on vendors also. Tata Motor has to retain certain portion of amount in the form of tax, and remaining we are going to pay back to the vendor. Now what will happen if there is an amount worth of 50,000 worth of 50,000 rupees or dollar or whatever it is worth of invoice we have received? On that, let's suppose 10% tax we have to deduct. So are we going to calculate first of all manually and then deduction is going to happen? No, it will take time. Manual calculations, right? It must be calculated automatically. This is what the benefit of ERP, guys, because we are using ERP, we are using software, right? So it must be happening automatically. This is how the times are going to be saved. That is what the benefit when I compare the ERP, when I compare the software with the manual work and all, right? So these all are the benefits. Whatever the things which is was being done earlier in like early days manually, Now what is happening? These all things are happening automatically, and this is how what is happening. Where in the sense like if you talk about this ERPs and all, right? So I think multiple employees' works are being done by ERP or software alone, right? The same work which is being performed, like let's suppose account payable team, if the manual work started happening, I think in account payable team itself, in large organizations, I think thousands or more than thousands people are required, right? Now, so let's talk about this taxes, direct tax and indirect tax, right? So look at here, direct tax, indirect tax, certain definitions I have specified, and same thing what I explained here. Direct tax is a tax an individual or organizations pay directly to the imposing entity. If you talk about the taxes, guys, taxes, who is the imposing entity? Of course, a country, in the sense like uh, government, right? When the tax is imposed on the income or wealth or property of a person, and look at here, its burden cannot be shifted on others, right? In the sense it has taken from your pocket, that's it. Now you cannot shift this burden to others. Whereas under indirect tax, what is happening, guys? The burdens are going to be shifted on others, and directly and indirectly, and finally what will happen? The final burden is going to be shifted on the end consumer only, right? Somebody is a manufacturer, is manufacturing, let's suppose something like cement manufacturer, right? What is happening, guys? Cement manufacturer means like whenever they're going to buy the raw materials and all, right, to manufacture the cement, then whoever the vendor is there is going to send the invoices including indirect tax. It could be VAT or GST, whatever it is. So what will happen, guys? Now, so that is the actual cost of the manufacturer. Whatever the payment he has made to the vendor, it's, let's suppose, uh, the payment was made worth of 50,000 rupees, right? Including taxes. So all are they're going to count as a cost, and these amounts are going to be added. And based on that, they are going to decide the price, right? Same cement was being used by a different, let's suppose, manufacturer to produce certain different product, let's suppose cemented pipe or something, right? Again, they are also going to calculate each and everything, and whatever tax they have paid, that is also going to be calculated, right, in the form of in their productions. Or is generally what happened, guys, whatever the taxes they are going to pay, right, again they can claim also. We'll discuss in detail when I teach this indirect taxes and all, right? So here what is happening, guys, the tax burden is going to be shifted, right, from one entity to other entity, and finally what is happening, guys, it is going to be paid by end consumer only. Now here if you talk about direct taxes, it cannot be shifted. Income tax or whatever taxes are there, right? Income tax, I said, like, it is paid by you. Where are you going to shift? No, nothing is there. There are certain things by which we can get certain exemptions, that's it, but it cannot be shifted on others. Okay, now here we'll talk about, so what I said. Okay, so now here withholding tax means what is happening, guys? Withholding tax means a tax deducted at source by the payer of income, right? It is called TDS. Whatever income tax got deducted, it is also called TDS, deducted at source by payer of income. Who is the payer of income? The employer is the payer of income, right? Now, since certain portion is going to be retained by employer, that is why it is called retention tax also. You say TDS, withholding tax, retention tax, whatever is there, all are same only, right? Now, in India, it is called TDS. Okay. Now,
This conference will now be recorded.
so now TDS is mainly directed on payment of salary, right? As I told you guys, salary in the sense like we are giving our services to the employer, and what will happen? So at the end of the month, whatever services we are giving, so we are going to get certain remuneration in the form of salary, and from salary, what will happen, guys? The tax is going to be deducted, TDS is going to be deducted by employer, and whatever the remaining your payment is there is going to be paid. The same thing is applicable in terms of other vendors. Other vendors in the sense, if we talk about Tata Motor, right? Tata Motor is not a small organization. Tata Motor is going to buy multiple services from different vendors, and there are multiple services which comes under like where like this TDS is going to be deducted at the time of invoice posting itself. Okay, so how it is going to be deducted, right? How the tax is going to be calculated, how automatic determination of GL accounts are going to happen, that we have to see, and that we have to configure, that we have to test also. Okay, we'll see that. So look at here, not only salary, commissions, brokerage, rent, like fee for this professional and technical services, etc. So as I said, multiple other services also comes under this TDS. Now TDS deductions. Now the question is, how many services comes, which services comes, these all things. It's like multiple blogs will be there on Google. You can read it out, or else even if you don't read also, because when we talk about the implementations, right? When we are going to do the configurations and all, so these all things are going to be a detailed discussion will happen with the client, and they are going to explain all these things, isn't it? Because you are ultimately you are going to do the configurations, and also first of all, requirement gathering means these all things will be explained by client, right? Now, okay, so look at here, guys. If we talk about the withholding tax means, now it is for India, these are the different sections are there, right? It is going to be like, look at here, section 192, section 194C, section 194H, I, in the sense on which services what percentage is going to be deducted, right? Again, country to country, a different percentage will be there, a different rule will be there, it's okay, right? If we talk about the tax related configurations, right? Here, like later, I have to cover indirect tax setting. So indirect taxes also, right? The configurations steps will be almost same. If you talk about indirect taxes, it is almost same. The only thing is a different percentage will be there. So it's okay when we define a tax code. Tax code means what, guys? Tax code is responsible to deduct the taxes, right? For 5%, let's suppose tax, 10% tax, 12% tax, 20% tax, whatever the percentage is there, for every percentage, what will happen? Let's suppose we are going to define a tax code, right? So let's suppose here in India, like let's suppose 12% tax is there, whereas in UK only 8% is there. It's okay. So here we are going to define a 12% tax code, there we are going to define only 8% tax code. This was the difference, right? But the configuration steps almost will be same, right? And of course there'll be some 1% or 2% country specific settings also will be there, right? So those things are not going to be discussed, because country specific setting is not possible to explain, guys, because that is very rare and very, what to say, this one unique things, right? Now, but standard settings we are going to talk about, and it is applicable throughout the world. Okay, now, so here what is happening, different sections are there, 192, 194C, 194H. So it is going to talk about what? It is going to talk about this tax percentage, right? For different services, a different percentage is applicable, right? And apart from this, guys, apart from this percentage, what will happen? Even other conditions also will be there, right? Look at here, if you talk about the rent, okay, for plant and machinery, a different percentage is going to be deducted, right? Let's suppose plant and machinery in the sense like Tata Motor is there. Certain, let's suppose there is a particular, machinery is there, or particular machine is there, right? Which is taken on lease. which is taken on rent, right? So if it is taken on rent, a particular amount is going to be paid every month. So whatever amount is going to be paid, right? Since it comes under a service which is taxable service, so on that payment, what will happen, guys? Certain tax is going to be deducted, and then we are going to make the payment. In the sense, then Tata Motor is going to make the payment, isn't it? So plant and machinery, 2% TDS. When the tax is going to be deducted, only 2%. Whereas if the same land or building is there, right, or furniture and fittings are there, then what is happening? 10%. I'll tell you, land and building means, let's suppose Tata Motor, this corporate office premise is there, right? So whatever this premises or premise is there, like let's suppose this is also on lease, right? Taken from a particular builder, a particular infrastructure company, and every month certain rent is going to be paid, right? So on that, whenever we are going to make payment, in the sense Tata Motor is going to make the payment for those, to those builders and all. So a 10% TDS is going to be deducted. So how it is going to happen, guys? It's pretty simple. For plant and machinery, 2% tax code supposed to be defined, and in the sense not plant and machinery, it's simply like what will happen. We are going to define two different tax code. Okay, one is 2%, and second one is for 10%. Okay, let's suppose tax code means a two-digit code will be defined. T1 and here T2. Two different tax code we are going to define. Now what will happen? We are having two different vendor, right? One is called vendor one, one. Then we are having vendor two. Two different vendors are there, right? Two different vendors are there. And likewise, thousands of vendors are there, right? And different percentage will be there. Now the question is, when the tax is going to be deducted, so how it is possible to remember that for vendor one 2% TDS is supposed to be deducted and vendor two 10% TDS is supposed to be deducted, right? So I'll tell you guys, no need to remember. Simply, these all tax code we have to set up, different percentages are going to be set up, right? At the time of setting up the vendor master, when the vendor master is going to be created, then what will happen? At that point of time itself, generally what will happen, guys, this whatever tax code is there is going to be assigned to the vendor master, right? And whenever you, so now look at here the benefit of vendor master, guys. What is the benefit of vendor master? Now, when you post an invoice, when you are going to post an invoice, okay, for invoice posting, what will happen? Let's suppose we are going to use transaction code FB60. So here, when you post an invoice, generally, now look at here while posting the invoice. So invoice is going to be posted against a particular vendor. So we have to select this vendor. Let's suppose vendor one or two. Vendor code will be there, right? So you have to select a particular vendor. Okay. If you have selected this vendor for invoice posting of 1000, right? Then what will happen? On 1000, SAP is going to, on this 1000, 2% TDS is going to be deducted initially itself. Okay. At the time of invoice posting itself, TDS is going to be deducted, right? And then what will happen? At month end, this payments are going to be remitted to the tax department by your organizations, and whatever remaining balance is there, in this is under 2% means whatever this 20 rupees tax was deducted, and 980 rupees is going to be paid to the vendor as per the terms of payment, and whatever 20 tax deducted, that is going to be remitted to the tax department. isn't it? This is what is happening. So here the question is how SAP is going to remember all this, like from this vendor 2%, from this vendor 10%, from a particular different vendor 20%, right? How it is possible to, how SAP is going to remember these things? In this way itself, there was a question asked by people earlier, right? So here also people are getting confused. A simple answer is there. Whenever we do the configurations of this direct tax, in the sense TDS configurations, what happened? So multiple tax codes are going to be created, and these tax codes are going to be assigned to the relevant vendors. Let's suppose this vendor one is there. From this vendor we have taken machinery on lease, on rent. So for this vendor only 2%, this is eligible for 2% TDS. So 2% tax code got created, and that is assigned to this vendor master. Another vendor is there, right? Another vendor means this is for this vendor, in the sense it is a infrastructure company, or you can say builders. So this vendor, from this vendor Tata Motor has taken like whatever the corporate office is there, that is on lease, rent. So every month this vendor is also, for this vendor also we have to make payment certain amount, but on that amount the tax must be deducted, right? So 10% TDS. Now I'll tell you guys, lots of BPO organizations are there, right? BPO means like, you know very well that that concept is very prevalent here in India or China or Vietnam, because here the labor charges are less. So that is why what is happening, guys? The company operating its business in USA, right? The manufacturing plant is there in USA, whereas their like back office works are happening here in India. Okay, and whichever, like let's suppose if you talk about Genpact, a well-known organization, guys, they are going to outsource lots of such kind of processes. Say for example, there is a company in USA, and whatever the back office job, in the sense like if you talk about a company, that company will be having like lots of uh, back end activity. When you talk about like procurements are taking place, a PO must be created first, that is supposed to be sent to the vendor. Based on the purchase order, what is happening? Vendor is going to deliver the goods. Goods were delivered to USA plant, right? But invoice is going to be, soft copies are going to be delivered, let's suppose. So invoice is being processed from India. Purchase order is going to be set up from India, isn't it? So we'll not go in those details and all, but still this is a very simple concept. Now here what happened? Whatever such BPO organizations are there, I'll tell you guys, they're everything like they have outsourced. And then second thing is like, if you talk about their premises, entire premises all will be there on lease. If you talk about their furniture and fixtures, even those things are also there on the lease. If you talk about the laptop, desktop, whatever is there, for that also there are certain vendor, and they are paying money for that, isn't it? Lots of things are there. So for that kind of services, what is happening, guys? A different TDS is going to be deducted. Say for example 15%. Okay. So we are going to define T3 and here 15% tax. So whenever the vendors are going to be created, at the time of creation itself, what is happening, guys? These tax codes are going to be assigned to the vendor master. And what I said, guys, when we post the invoice, when the invoice is going to be posted, then first of all we have to select for which vendor invoice is getting posted. If you have selected vendor 3 and 1000 worth of invoice is there for 3, what will happen? Vendor 3, we have already assigned in that vendor master T3 tax code. So T3 says 15% deductions, isn't it? So if anybody asks that we are having multiple vendors, and let's suppose for every vendor a different tax percent is supposed to be deducted. In that case, how SAP is going to remember that how much tax percent is supposed to be deducted from this vendor or that vendor? So it's pretty simple, guys, because we have to define a tax code, and that is going to be assigned to the vendor master. When the invoice is going to be posted, invoice will be posted against a particular vendor. So once the vendor master, in the sense vendor number is given, SAP is going to fetch this tax code from vendor master itself. Okay, so SAP came to know T3. So what is this T3, guys? If we talk about T3, it means 50%. We have already given 50% tax. So this calculation will happen. So this is what the benefit of master data. When you post the invoice, again, for this vendor, this invoice is going to be due or overdue in how many days, guys? So in 30 days. So what is happening? We have created a terms of payment, let's suppose TM30, that is going to be linked with this vendor, right? So this is how what is happening, guys. Automatically, the moment you post the invoices, immediately what will happen, guys? SAP is going to count that this invoice is going to be due in how many days, right? This is what the benefit of master data. Payment method we can assign against vendor master itself, right? So there are multiple things which is getting stored at master data level. This is what the benefit, right? So, and this is how SAP is going to trigger the tax percentage for every vendor. Let's suppose different tax percentage will be there. It's not for every vendor, but since it was like a question asked during interview, that's what I'm saying. Maybe, but let's suppose maybe 100 vendors comes under this category, 200 vendors comes under this category, right? 500 vendors comes under this category. In this sense, different categories are there, right? Professional and technical services, audit firm is there, right? Tata Motor is taking audit related services from a particular firm. Let's suppose PwC is there, KPMG is there, EY is there. These are the well-known organizations, guys. Deloitte is there. But this is called Big Four, right? Now, so Tata Motor is taking their audit services. So for that also, they have to make payment for that services, right? So it's a service which is taxable. Now what is happening? Taxable in the sense like whenever the payments are going to be made, so a certain portion must be retained in the form of TDS, right? So whenever those vendors are going to be set up, for that we have to set up a tax code and that is going to be, but still some more other configurations are also there that we have to see, guys. In the sense, first of all, certain configurations we have to do. When I say automatic determination of GL account, right? How it is going to happen? Of course, we must have to assign the GL account somewhere. Then only system is going to determine this, right? And certain other configurations are there. We'll see this one by one. Okay. So now here, okay. So this sections, I said sections in the sense like how much percentage, sorry, not how much percentage. In the sense, certain conditions also will be there, guys. Those things are going to be specified under these sections, right? That for rent, as I said, like 2% for plant and machinery, 10% for land and building. Again, this like let's suppose if the vendor is Indian citizen or foreign citizen, right? If Indian citizen, then how much tax? Foreign citizen, then how much tax, right? If the vendor is an individual, then a different percentage will be there. If the vendor is an organization, a different percentage will be there, right? So multiple conditions will be there, which is going to be specified under this different sections. Okay. Now, what we have to do, guys, how the configurations are going to be started here into SAP. We'll see this. So configuration parts also, guys, pretty simple. When you talk about the configurations, but the thing is like you need to know the logic. Okay. Now we'll do one thing. So here for TDS, for withholding tax configurations, what we have to do. Now we are having like we just do one thing. Okay. So the codes are very difficult to remember, guys. Okay. In the sense we have to use SM30 and certain different difficult codes are there. So you just do one thing. We are going to use path for TDS configurations. Use this path, reference IMG, and then here financial accounting new, and you just do one thing. So here it will be like financial accounting global setting is there, guys. Here you have to here you have to like go and look at here. This is for direct indirect taxes, and this is for direct tax, withholding tax. You expand this one. Okay, expand this one means you can click here, right? This is how the expansions are happening. So withholding tax, then in that we are having withholding tax and extended withholding tax. You have to go for extended withholding tax, guys, because if we talk about withholding tax here, right? In this sense, of course, this is the old setting, right? In new setting, what is happening? They have added certain additional features, certain additional activity. Now what happened, guys, when the SAP is going to add certain new features or certain new settings, right? So what will happen, they will keep old also and they'll keep new also. Okay, so that like whatever, if new settings are not required for a particular organizations, then and even the consultants are pretty habituated of the old setting also. So if they feel their work is going to be, they are going to uh, in the sense their requirements are going to be made with the old setting itself, they can follow, right? And slowly it is going to be removed, not in current version, maybe next version or next to next version, right? So slowly it is going to be removed. Now here you just do one thing, go for extended withholding tax. Now we just expand this. So look at here we are having multiple settings, basic setting, calculations, company code, we'll see that now. So expand this one means like, okay, so check withholding tax countries. I'll tell you guys now. So here we are having country, this is also country, and here also this W country means CTY means withholding tax country itself. Now there is, I'll tell you, uh, not only for not for every what do you say country, guys, for few country only, right? They're having like country within the country. It's a different concept, guys. What you have to do, because as I said, few country, maybe I think Japan falls under this one or not, that I have to check it, right? But since as I said, very limited number of countries are there, right? Maybe one or two countries. So what happened, what you have to do, you can click on new entry, and here your country is, let's suppose, IN or UK or US, whatever it is. You can give that country code here, and here also same country code, no change. Okay, since it is already given by someone here, someone in the sense, by default it will be there in SAP, so no need to go for this setting because it will be available here, right? Simply I'm explaining here, country specific, in the sense country is already assigned here, so you can ignore it. Okay, now define withholding tax key. Okay, tax key is nothing but the sections which I said, like 194C, 194I, right? That can be defined here. You can give a country key here first, and you look at here, multiple tax keys are defined, in the sense different people have defined different tax key. Let's suppose this 194I, TDS on rent. I'm going to use this one. So this is already defined. I'm going to leave it up as it is. If it is not defined, then you can click on new entry, and here you can write 194I descriptions. If you want to give, you can give, and you can save it. Since it is already defined, then I'm going to leave it up. Now there is a use. It is going to be assigned against tax code, guys. Now come back. Define exemptions reason or reason for exemptions. Okay, now there is a logic behind this one, guys. There is a logic. Okay, exemptions reason, if you talk. Okay, if you talk about the exemption reason, guys, I'll tell you. Okay, so it is a kind of exemption code. Okay, there'll be let's suppose exemption means, say for example, here what will happen, like let's suppose we are having multiple vendors. Okay, now here I think certain noise will be there, guys, so you have to bear with that because I have changed the location actually. So now, so we are having multiple. I'll explain this one, okay, and I'll stop the recording here itself. So multiple vendors are there, right? Now, and these all vendors are giving us similar kind of services. So if we talk about the tax code, guys, in the sense if we talk about the tax percentage, it will be same. Let's suppose 10%, 10%, 10% for every vendor. And so for that we have to define a tax code, and that is going to be assigned against these vendors. But out of these all vendors, one vendor is saying that this vendor is having exemption certificate. In the sense, tax department has issued exemption certificate to this vendor. Okay, tax department has issued exemption letter. We can say, right, that you have to pay only, let's suppose, 40% exemptions. So in that case, that vendor is going to pay only 40%. Sorry, only 60% of entire percentage. Let's suppose 10% is there. On 10%, what is happening? 40% exemption certificate is issued by tax department, right? So what is the 40% of 10, guys? It is 4. So 4% exemptions. So how much tax is going to be paid by, how much tax percentage is going to be deducted from this vendor, guys? Only 6%, right? So in that case, what is happening? In SAP, we are having what to say? This is called exemption. What to say? This one scenario, right? So in we are having this option actually, how the exemption is going to be calculated, but I'll explain here theoretically. Okay. Now, so look at here. So generally, what happened? So this exemption, let's suppose I for this vendor, what is happening? 6% tax only will be deducted, right? So in this case, what will happen? I think, of course, it is going to create some confusion, but it's okay, guys. If you're not able to understand, also it's okay. You can leave it up. Okay. Now, because I'm explaining this exemption reason, right? So generally, what happened for this 6% tax? Are we going to define a new tax code? No, we are not going to define a new tax code. Okay. So whatever the exemption percentage there that we can specify in the vendor master, right? And whenever we are going to specify exemption percentage, guys, you have to give an exemption reason, right? So reason means it's not like we are going to, you might have seen reversal reason when you are going to reverse the invoice, right? A reversal reason also will be there, right? Are we going to type something manually? No, a particular code is defined. That code itself we are going to select. Likewise, for this exemption, what is happening? This exemption code is going to be selected. Okay, if you check here, multiple exemption, I think code will be defined. So if you want to define, you can define also, or else you can skip also. I think it is gone. The connectivity is broken. Okay. So anyway, what I have to do, guys, there are multiple other configuration steps are also there that I have to explain one by one. Okay. I think the connectivity is broken. So we'll start from here itself, but in next session, guys. I'll stop this recording here itself. Okay. And whatever remaining configurations are there, we'll see in next session. Okay. Now. Okay. And so remaining configurations plus GL account assignment also will be there, and testing part will be there. So that we are going to see in next session. Okay. So that's all in this session, guys.